MJF just returned to AEW and wrapped up about 2 years of storyline in one segment.
I think for now.
Too much storyline, you might say. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luco and DAD. Welcome to the AEW Double or Nothing 2024 review on the WrestleTalk podcast. If you haven't already, please press the thumbs up button, give us a subscribe, leave a comment down below, and send in your OmegaChats to WrestleTalk.com/support. I nearly said Patreon, but that's not even a link.
That's not.
Patreon goes at the start, and we'll read out every single one over $5 before the end of the show. We are starting not with one of the 12 matches on this overall card, but with one of the many angles that took place.
So we were joking just before we came on air that I was really surprised. So I finished this show this morning. I got up at 5 a.m. to watch this show. I should have realised that the show was going to be fairly long because it was still on when I started watching it. I couldn't get Triller to restart the pay-per-view. And I was like, go from the beginning. And it wouldn't play. I was like, go from the beginning. And it wouldn't play. And so I was like, watch live? And it was halfway through the Anarchy In The Arena match. I was like, no. And so I had to go back to the start. And eventually I got it to play. But I had a great time with this show. I had so much fun with it. I thought, I'd say every match delivered. I had a really good time with everything on this show. And it flew by. I had a really, really good time watching it. And I was then so surprised when I went online, and I've seen quite a few people down on this show. It's too long. And then it was too long. And then as we were joking about just then, Dave Meltzer's complaining they did too many angles. I've seen people say there's too much interference, there's too many screwy finishes. And I was like, wow, I'm actually quite surprised, particularly at the end of that Anarchy In The Arena match. Oh, one of the other things, Mercedes didn't main event, so I saw a cavalcade of complaints against this show, which I thought was really quite good. But I do think it helps that I wasn't watching it live. I think that really does help. I found this when Dan and I review Raw sometimes. If he stays up to watch it, he's more down on the show than I am, who's just got up in the morning to watch it. Because he's watched all 3 hours live.
I've got all the ad breaks.
He's got all the ad breaks.
Sleepy as well.
Yeah. If you're watching it on demand, you skip through all of that, and then it's an hour and a half show, and it's quite a fun time. I'm there watching it. I get to pause, get out myself a cup of coffee, go to the toilet, pause again, go for another cup of coffee, pause again, have some Weetabix. And yeah, I didn't find the show long at all, but some people did.
I think maybe it's because there was both a WWE pay-per-view and an AEW pay-per-view very close together, and they were rather extreme opposites, definitely in terms of duration. I am much more in favour of the takeover length, the 2 hour, 50-minute length.
Well, this was half an hour longer than King of Queen of the Ring. King of Queen of the Ring had a 2 hour pre-show.
Yeah, let's just take the main cards.
Every time I've done this, you've said...
That's why I was taking... when it fits my argument, I'll take the other way.
I was going to say...
Okay. If we just take it from match time...
Yes.
There was half an hour of matches, I'd say, on the buy-in. And I'd say half an hour on the other one. So that's null.
Oh, there was not half. There was 8... That tag match was 8 minutes long.
What? Okay. You want to go 8 minutes?
Yeah.
8 minutes. So this show was 2 hours longer.
Because of
it was an hour and 40 minutes longer, the main card, and the pre-show buy-in was 20 minutes longer in terms of just matches.
Okay,
that's too long.
It is,
and 12 matches is too many matches.
You'll find no complaint with me there.
And there were too many stories. Now, I enjoyed the show.
But I thought they didn't do any stories, Ollie.
I ended the show just like you, and I was like, oh my God, because that Anarchy In The Arena match, the final countdown bit, if you're not having fun watching everyone brawl to final countdown, then maybe this whole wrestling thing isn't for you. But when I'm going through my notes afterwards, there were loads of things where I was like, oh, yeah, that happened. It's too many things crammed into one show. People only tend to remember 3 big moments. You don't need to spam so much in, especially when you've got loads of TV that you want to make feel special. Save some of those angles for those. The Juice Robinson return, the Statlander turn, some of those matches, the Orange Cassidy Trent thing, those would be much better served for an episode of TV, because just for like the Anarchy in the Arena match, for instance, I'm going through my notes and I'm like, there was an exploding chair spot in this?
Yeah, it's Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah, but there were enough spots.
You can't just do that on TV because then Anarchy in the Arena isn't special.
No, but like there was no point to do that spot, and I get.
Of course there was. It's Anarchy in the Arena.
Not when you've got so many others. I don't really care about that because it is Anarchy in the Arena. I'm more using it as an example to say I totally forgot about an exploding chair because so much else happened in that match.
Yeah, I understand.
That's a micro metaphor for the overall show, where a lot of these things don't seem as important because everything's on the show.
I get that. I would argue there's too many matches, and I think where you feel that in the show is that when one match has ended, it is, and coming up next, video package, the next match starts. Whereas, a WWE show, they're 3 hours long with 5 matches because there's half an hour of breaks in between matches because there's Peacock ad breaks.
Randy Orton's entrance
and stuff. So it's still going.
From out of nowhere. I can see this.
So it feels more... It feels better paced on a WWE show because there's more room to breathe. And I think the argument of too many angles comes in when those angles aren't given the time to breathe. However, they also cram too much in on TV, so those angles aren't given to breathe either. So I would argue that the same problem happens. Because I've said this from day one with AEW. Well, not day one, but certainly when there's too many people on AEW. If you don't have these people on the show, people complain at you. So then you put too many people on the show. You have to put all the people on the show, and people complain there's too much on the show. And I think that we are in a world now where WWE are doing too few matches on pay-per-views, and AEW are doing too many pay-per-views, too many matches on pay-per-views. Yeah. There is a happy medium, and I don't think either company is actually going to do that happy medium.
That happy medium, in terms of pay-per-views, is far closer to the... I mean, like, the pay-per-views we grew up on, they're 2 hours 45. They're 2 hours 50.
They were 3-hour shows, yeah.
They were 3-hour shows.
Yeah. And they were also... But, like, that's the B shows.
There were also, like, 9 events, 9 matches that happens on them.
Exactly.
Let's get into this, because we've got loads to talk about. So the show started with Ospreay versus Roderick Strong. That's UK versus UK, I said. That was
very clever.
And someone commented, I didn't know Roderick Strong was from the UK. Undisputed Kingdom, of course.
I did see that in your script. I was like, I hope he explains this joke otherwise.
And afterwards, after Ospreay wins, Adam Cole comes out. And initially I'm like, well, this is weird. If he was there, why didn't he show up in this? And blah, blah, blah. It was a bit of a weird setup. And then Adam Cole's in there. And I'm like, okay, this is building to an MJF comeback.
I think everyone in the building was aware of that.
They were chanting.
Yeah. So the news had come out, I think, before the show that MJF had flown to Phoenix as a way to misdirect people that he wasn't going to be at, and then he was driven from Phoenix to the building. But Sean Ross Sapp had reported in the week, there has been talks of MJF will be coming back imminently soon. So I think once that came out in the week, everyone was like, oh, he'll be back at Double or Nothing. Then.
But there was also that report about the shoulder surgery a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What are these dirt shits? No. Get some credible sources, Luke.
Yeah, like Disco Inferno.
Please, have my cheese. Adam Cole's out there, and then we get lights cut to black. Everyone knows what's happening. A video plays on screen. It's like from a first-person perspective, someone walking down what I assume is MJF's glacial palace.
His house.
And he goes into a room, and there's a mannequin there, and it's dressed up in the sort of MJF outfit. Then seeing what we got, that makes me think that's him leaving that character, like when you read a Batman comic and he's in his cave, you've got all the old Batman costumes in little display cabinets. This for me felt a bit like that.
And I think So you think it's getting rid of the Burberry scarf and all that sort of jazz.
Oh, now he's Triple H from 2002.
Well, yeah, because he not only did he borrowed a lot from Triple H in this. Not only did he come back dressed as Triple H did when he returned in 2002, he also did Triple H's blackface routine that he did in 1998 because he was tanned to the gills in this when he came out. He came out. My first note was like, he is ludicrously tanned.
It's a good, that he had a break, going to Cancun. Soaking the rays.
But he, did the big elbow drop thing. He did the Ric Flair, taking the jacket off, elbow drop to the devil mask as well. And so it felt like this was, I'm getting rid of a lot of, to your point, getting rid of a lot of this old baggage of my character. And this is a brand new iteration of MJF.
Not just character things, but entire storylines as well. Because in that promo video, he also gets out a torn up photo of him and Adam Cole, and then he comes down to Adam Cole. Adam Cole goes to hug him. MJF looks like he's gonna embrace, but instead he kicks him in the dick. Hits a brain buster, which was nice to see. Adam Cole is fit enough to at least take that. And then MJF also revealed that he has re-signed with the company. He's not effing leaving, which was a Wolf of Wall Street quote, apparently. That's why he called himself the Wolf of Wrestling.
Yeah. This was because this has been, the report for a while.
Oh, yeah.
He re-signed pretty much when he returned.
2 years ago.
He's been re-signed for a while, but people were adamant that he was leaving and going to WWE.
Well, that was the story they were telling us, the bidding war of 2024.
Yes, but there was also a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that he had re-signed, and people were like, no, he's going to be number 30 in the Royal Rumble.
But you had that long-running storyline of, well, is MJF going to stay with the company? Is he going to leave? Which I think, shoot, we all knew he was staying, but at least kayfabe it was presented that way. And Adam Cole, this is like an 8-month-long storyline, probably longer if you take the time off of this year so far. It feels like he wrapped that up as well.
I was wondering this, because I'm sort of in two minds. First thought was, this is wrapping up. This is just like, we're going to end off this storyline. We're going to just bin this off. It wasn't all that successful for them in the end. The reaction to the big devil reveal at World's End was not the big cataclysmic end to a year that I think, the storyline thought it was going to be. And I think it just kind of needs to be done. The problem they got, though, is that all the injuries kept really hampering them. They couldn't blow this off before World's End because Adam Cole got injured. Then they couldn't really do anything after World's End because Adam Cole was still injured and MJF was going into World's End injured. So Fightful Slate reports, they're hoping to have this done by the spring, and they can't. My other thought was that maybe they're just doing this to be like, MJF has wrapped this up, so he can go on to other storylines now, because other Fightful Select is lots of top creative pitches for him to be put into top-level storylines. Then when we can do the MJF Adam Cole match, let's revisit this, but because we can't just do the match now, let's put MJF in something else instead. And
that's the right call as well, because Undisputed Kingdom, it makes storyline sense for them to be Max's first program, but it's not a hot angle anymore. They're not a hot act. It would just feel like we're getting through some loose ends. So I kind of appreciate this. Yep, okay, I'm back. New character, boom. New stuff. New stuff.
No more kangaroo kicks.
No more kangaroo kicks. I've heard some people say he turned heel here. It's good. A lot of the verbiage was him saying, Cole taught me to not to trust anybody, so I'm not going to run off of love anymore. I'm going to go back to what I was doing best. I'm run from hate.
He didn't take out MJF. He woke up MJF.
So, and he also had a very saucy line. For all the schmucks in the back, he doesn't need a New Japan or a Vince McMahon to make it, because MJF made MJF. Maybe that implies it's not an AEW original he's going after. Okada would be a New Japan name, or Copeland would be Vince McMahon made name. Beat up the Devil Mask, has signed for it with AEW, and now he's no longer the Devil. I guess he's the Wolf. Oh.
I think it would be hard to make yourself the heel in all of this, though, considering he has got AEW branded on himself. And if you are dyed-in-the-wool an AEW fan, hard to boo that guy because he clearly does like this place.
Well, I think he can just be exactly the MJF he was pre-Adam Cole. So no goofy bits, more of a serious psychotic stuff, like the last bit of the Danielson feud, for instance. But now people cheer him.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you have to change. I don't want him to get swerved. Now an adjective.
I was going to say, but which is funny because it already is a wrestling adjective.
Yeah.
What you mean is Strickland did.
Yeah,
not.
I don't want him to be sanitized. Don't want him to become a fighting champion.
Actually, I mean, to you at the point you said that people thought he turned heel.
Not everyone. I've just seen.
But you know,
it said
he did leave through the heel tunnel.
Did he?
Yeah. So, however much you want to put on that, because I know a lot of people really like to focus in on, you know, the tunnels that people came out of. But Mercedes Moné also came out the babyface tunnel, and she's 100% the heel in this feud.
Well, we'll get on to that. So yeah, who do you think his first feud could be?
I mean, do you just put him straight into a program with Strickland?
Well, Strickland said in the media conference afterwards, he thinks MJF's got a few other things to wrap up first.
That's interesting.
That makes me think they've got another direction there.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest thing they could do. But maybe he goes... It'll be weird for him to go for a title that isn't the world title.
Mm-hmm. What if he's in the Owen?
Yes, I guess he could do the Owen, because that was announced on the buy-in, that the winners of the Owen Hart Foundation Memorial Cup.
Yeah.
Is that the full tournament?
The Owen Hart Memorial Foundation Cup.
I don't think that's the right order of
The Owen Hart Foundation Memorial Cup?
The Owen Hart Foundation is the name of the charity.
Yeah.
The Owen Hart Foundation Memorial Cup Tournament. That makes sense. The Oha Purrazzo. Yeah, so you could do that because the winner of those gets a shot at All In.
Yeah, so you could. That's a pretty big match you could do. Swerve versus MJF for the title, main event of All In.
Yeah. So I guess it's not a feud then, is it? It's a tournament.
Yeah, what do you think that you could do?
I don't know. Ospreay just popped into my head, but that's because he pops into my head when I'm asked most questions about what I want to see.
What are you going to feel? Ospreay, he's right there,
bruv. Yeah, well, let's see what people think in the chat.
Let us know in the chat there what you think he could be. I've seen a few people say that they could go into the Owen. People obviously like the t-shirt that you're wearing.
Oh yeah, pipe bomb greater than math.
Some people say maybe it could be Copeland, although hoping that he didn't get injured in that match. Wardlow has apparently made fun of MJF on Twitter.
Well, that would be a natural feud to go to, but it's Undisputed Kingdom-y.
Yeah, so kind of
it's a bit ucky.
You got a bit of an ick with
I've got an uck. UK.
Oh, that's good.
Thanks, man. Westhead says MJF's new gimmick that he's Triple H from his O2 return, the jacket, the hate. I was like, triple hate. That's good. Fire was certain the second he was dumped in the ice bath. A little underwhelming. This wasn't exactly Kane in '98 setting crew on fire. Hard emoji WrestleTalk. Thank you.
I don't think we should be... That Kane one is not as great as we remember it being when he gets the Inferno match and he's got a massive cast on the big fake arm that he's got. And so I'm just like, oh no, and he runs to the back. This is a dude literally stood in front of you being... And I think you're right, like the second that he went into the ice bath, I was like, oh, that's a very clever way to hide the fire retardants.
I did not get that until afterwards. Oathkeeper 65. First I lose my MJF-less life. Chris turns on Willow. Orange might be joining the Don Callis Charisma event Horizon. And Darby may have died again. Why does Tony Khan book to spite me? Overall, a pretty decent show, sounds like. 4 out of 5. Can't wait for Dynamite. Yeah. That's a good one. Favourable review.
Yeah, favourable.
Kazoo says, what an incredibly fun weekend of wrestling. Mentally, I'm still at Jack Perry being set on fire. Ludicrous match. Glad MJF is staying. He is very much needed in AEW now. But I'm curious where he fits in the current roster. Gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Do a little Samoa Joe. He could go on a bit of a Liv Morgan revenge tour.
I wonder if we're getting Joe, Hook, and Shibata in the trios scene.
Such a step down for Joe.
No, but it could be a step up for... I mean, it gets Hook and Shibata out the Jericho Vortex.
James Zimmerman. Howdy, folks. I want to point out that the 2 miracles on the show. There were 2 tying up spots that they didn't botch. Adam tying up Black and Darby at the end. I think that that Adam Malachi one was
the barbed wire.
The barbed wire. Botch tying stuff up most of the time. By the way, the Snake Roberts at WrestleMania 6, Jake, WrestleMania 6, greater than all other promos. Well, everybody knows it's the pipe bomb.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and unfortunately, that if you were on TLC, you might have been able to make that point, but that one didn't come up.
T-Dollar. Hey, guys, pretty good show despite the length.
Totally a sex tape.
Feel like there should be a middle ground between WWE's 5-match shows and AEW's 10. Thought most matches rocked minus Takeshita and Moxley. Takeshita's knockout strikes should be kicked out of way less. I actually really like that match.
Yeah, I really like that match as well.
Tony Shade, Menberg for 11 months in a row. Tony Shade is a great wrestling name.
I like that a lot.
This was the best live show I've ever been to. It could have been longer, and we still would have been going crazy. Celebrated my 10th anniversary there.
Hey, wow.
Congratulations. You and AEW have like the same anniversary. I'm envious you were there live. It was a great crowd, and I think that helped the length of the night.
It was weird as well because Alvarez was there live, and then he was putting out the reports being like, man, crowd's dead. Crowd's
really?
like, yeah.
I've heard some people say you had the Hot Ospreay opener, then the MJF return, and we'll get into it. It is a lot of those matches that could have been skipped, and then you get Malachi, Copeland, and the 3 main events. Yes, I do have my tongue in my cheek when I say 3 main events.
Yeah, that was like I could do without that branding.
I don't know why they're taking some things from WWE.
Yeah, and it's the stupid things as well. Like it's all the things that we've been making fun of for so long. Those aren't the bits to take.
No. Nick Smith, did you watch the media scrum? I haven't. I've only watched clips. Toni Storm recited an erotic wrestling training story from her upcoming memoir entitled...
Sorry, I just picked up on that.
A Storm is Coming. In which she uttered the phrase, now I know why they call it a hot comeback. Lol, the woman is unhinged. The roller coaster. Hey guys, what a show. Ospreay is a champ. Jack Perry was on fire. Jeff Jarrett was on the buy-in. MJF isn't going anywhere. I can't explain how pumped and how right it feels to see him again. We needed MJF to complete this new AEW era. Have a great day.
And you have a great day.
Yeah, he has been really missed.
Yeah.
It should add a lot of star power. Be interesting to see what happens to the ratings.
Well, yeah.
Has Max timed this for when the NBA playoffs finish?
He's Hogan'd it.
He's Triple H'd it. Smart guy.
Actually, I mean, we had the point earlier. It's just like, it's going to be weird seeing him in... Because this now feels like a completely different roster to the one that they had in December.
Oh, yeah.
So... that's only 5 months ago. But how he's going to fit in with that is going to be really interesting.
Jared Hazelwood. Now that MJF is fueled by hate, I want him to go on a rant about hate like AM from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Arctic Monkeys. Is that AM? That's not.
Well, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is a Bret Easton Ellis.
Oh, is it?
Was it? Did he do that one? I'm pretty sure there's a video game called I Have No Mouth but I Must Scream, and I'm trying to think if it's based on something. I'm going to quickly Google it now because that's winding me up.
Well, we don't understand the reference, Jared, but I bet it's a good one.
I was right. It was Harlem Ellison. Harlem Ellison. But I'm pretty sure it was turned into a video game.
And finally, for now, Mark Flay says, give me the way AEW do pay-per-views over the WWE method. The ad breaks in WWE shows put me off and make me stop caring. I like breaks. I watched, me and the lady partner watched a bit of Legally Blonde 2. It was just on TV. We hadn't watched it on Netflix or anything. Oh, there's a break. I'll put the kettle on. It's nice.
Traditional TV.
Oh, you're so traditional TV.
So 1996. So AM was Allied Master Computer, who is the lead character, I believe. And I was right. Ellison adapted the story into a video game in 1995. I knew it because I'd seen it on Games Master.
Right, let's go into the full play-by-play review, WrestleTalk.com/support. Keep sending in your Omega chats there. We'll read out every single one over $5. The buy-in had Deonna Purrazzo beating Thunder Rosa. They have, of course, been sort of feuding since that Toni Storm match on Dynasty, and Deonna, now an out-and-out heel, she grabbed the bottom rope to get the pin.
Yeah. Good.
Then we got the Owen Hart tournament announcement that we've already covered, and then the Acclaimed versus Brian Cage and Gates of Agony. It was mostly Brian Cage posing with Billy Gunn. I'm a bit over Daddy Ass now.
Yeah, it's not as over as it once was. I don't think they are as under as Twitter will have you believe, but they're not getting the reactions that I was seeing at Wembley when I was staggered at how over they were.
You've got Daddy Ass, big Attitude Era star. You've got Max Caster, he of the fun raps. Anthony Bowens is my main guy. I think he's incredible, and he was the heart of this match. He got his leg trapped between the stairs, and they whipped Billy Gunn into it, so he's selling the match the entire time. And it's Bowens' comeback that sort of gets the win in the end. Yeah, I want Bowens.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are calling for a Bowens single run. I could go for it.
The main card opened with Will Ospreay and Roderick Strong for the international title. Got Don Callis on commentary, because Ospreay is a Callis family boy. And it just started off right from the get-go. Ospreay jumped Strong in his entrance. There's this spot. The Undisputed Kingdom interfered a lot in the early bits, including the first one being this electric chair. So like a doomsday
They did the
device.
doomsday device, yeah.
But it was with a Taven dive through the ropes onto Ospreay.
Yeah.
On Bennett's shoulders outside. And Ospreay just flipped round and landed on his face.
Yeah, it was a pure Will Ospreay bump, which is like, how can I make this look as real as possible? I'll just take it on my face.
The speculation is this was intentional.
Of course it was. It's
because
Will
then he sold that, and it was a big part of the match.
Yeah, of course it was intentional.
Just
you've watched Will wrestle before.
I'm staggered by it, but he always works me because of it. I tell you what, I'm always worked by this other thing. If you jump off the top rope and you jam your leg and you hold your knee every time, oh crap!
Because he did it in this match.
Did it here.
He did the Phoenix Splash.
Ospreay, Wardlow tried to interfere, but God, he's bad at interference, isn't he?
I think in fairness to this was more on the Kingdom not distracting Remsburg enough that Remsburg backed up and he bumped into Will Ospreay, who was in the process of getting a power bomb.
Yeah.
And Wardlow's like, oops.
I mean, Wardlow could also see what was happening. Maybe move Will back a bit. I don't know. Wardlow, so Remsburg ejected everyone to the back.
Yeah.
And that's when the match got really good. This is kind of the match I wanted all the way through.
Yeah.
This wasn't the big Ospreay Strong match.
I preferred the constant interference that we got in the Swerve match.
Yes.
Like, I think that was a better version of what we were doing here. And that, I think, is actually without fair criticism of too many sort of match layouts being similar.
Yeah. Because the best thing in this, which should be the only standout part, is Ospreay hits the... what's he hit? He hits an Oscutter, and then he's going to go for the Tiger Driver, but Roddy sells his neck, the referee checks it, and all of a sudden Will's triggered like, oh my God, the Tiger Driver, how I retired Bryan Danielson. It's a shame Danielson has come back in a way.
It's less than I could have done. He did hit him with that move and he spasmed in the ring. So, it's lucky in kayfabe. It is lucky that Danielson is still walking. That's the story justification.
I agree, but it is definitely undermined by Danielson then having the match he had in the main event.
Tony Khan was in the main event.
But yeah, well, don't get me started on roly-poly Tony Khan. But it was Don giving Will advice, saying, no, hit the Tiger Driver. And I was like, I can't. But went a bit further, and then he hit the Stormbreaker to win.
Yeah.
Great character work.
Brilliant as well, because later on in the night, Takeshita listens to Don's advice, and that would end up being his downfall. So Don is not as wise as perhaps he would have his family believe that he is. I thought this was a great match. It was our first of many "This is awesome" chants throughout the night, which I don't think is the true mark of quality that it was in the mid 2000s, because it's now just, oh, you did a big move, so this is awesome.
Double down.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
But I loved all the counters and the reversals, and yeah, thought it was really, really great. And like, Roddy as well, neck strong, Roderick strong being the one who is.
I never thought of that. That's really good.
And Will being sort of like having to wrestle with that moral compass of his of hitting that move. Did you see Jarrett on the buy-in for it when they were talking about this? And he was like, "You're talking about it's pro wrestling. Nothing stays retired. You just unretire it."
I bet I usually skip all the talking parts of the buy-in. I thought you would too, but as soon as I saw Jeff Jarrett next to RJ City, I thought Luke's watching all of this.
I'll watch all of this. Yeah. This is better than some of the matches.
Who do you think faces Ospreay in this first title program?
Honestly, I don't know. That's one of the things I'm most intrigued about with Dynamite is that I'm looking at this show and I'm not like, oh, I can now see where you're going to get to Forbidden Door. Granted as well, Forbidden Door, because it's a bit of a stopgap show because you have to do a lot of New Japan stuff in there. So I don't know. And I think that's kind of what my intrigue is for Dynamite. Like you watch King and Queen of the Ring, you're like, okay, I'm going to tune into Raw and I know what I'm going to get. And I know what next beats I'm getting of these stories and how we're getting towards SummerSlam. This, I'm like, honestly, I don't know. Like even with Will, I don't know. I don't think you just go back to another Undisputed Kingdom feud.
Well, I would like Joe. I think an Ospreay Joe match is a bit of a dream match for me.
I've started to think, because I was talking about like, oh no, they'll be in the trios division. Maybe they'll go against the Bang Bang Gang. I suddenly thought it was like, oh no, Brian Keith. There's now 3 of them.
Damn it.
So Joe, Will Ospreay's there being like, come on, bruv, come fight me, and just like, no, gets pulled into the vortex.
We'll get on to that. Then we got the MJF segment. Then we got Death Triangle versus Bang Bang Gang. Jay White DDT'd Pac in one of the first moves. And Pac looked like he'd snapped his neck off. His head. Like Sleepy Hollow style selling.
Yeah. And then when like he had the cover and Pac was like not kicking out, trying to get Jay White off of him.
Yeah.
Really made me like, uh-oh. Like, you know how you have with the Phoenix Splash? This was my like, moment.
I don't think this was intentional.
Well, then they started working over the neck and they started targeting it. I was like, oh, that was also a planned spot. It's just he's really good at selling.
I feel like that was a lucky escape. And then they was like, no, I'm okay. You can keep working me over. Because Jay White also seemed...
Well, that's what I mean. Because it wasn't like I'll get my shoulder up on this toucan. This is more like, get off me. Just get off me now.
This was, decent match, but I don't really care about it being on the card.
I will be the voice of Reddit for you then. Jay White not on the pay-per-view. Oh, should have gone to WWE. What a waste of talent.
Yeah, you're right. He should be in a singles program. But he shouldn't be currently.
Okay, for more matches, because then how do you get the Lucha Bros on the card?
I just wouldn't have... Maybe there's too many people in AEW. Maybe there's too many things to satisfy.
All right, Dave Meltzer.
But we got another person coming back. The problem's only going to get worse. Juice Robinson came in and pushed Pac off the top rope, giving the Bang Bang Gang the win.
I mean, to the point you made earlier, I did forget the Juice returned on this show.
So did I. And I've written a script. I've recorded a video saying it. Watch that video back, and it still surprises me.
Oh, Juice! I mean, in my notes, I've literally, Juice is also back.
And I love Juice Robinson.
Great. It's great to have him back on TV.
Toni Storm took on Serena Deeb, but this was a decent match.
I thought this was a great match.
I thought it was a decent match that got very good in the final few minutes.
I thought this was great from the off.
Okay.
I really, really liked this. I really liked Deeb's viciousness. I think she was playing the heel in the match.
I don't think she was playing the heel.
I think she was.
I think they were still babyface. I still think she was trying to play this babyface. She was smiling occasionally.
She did a few, come on.
Yeah. Like this, her character, I know she hit Toni with the chair and the heel on the Go Home show. Her character hasn't changed.
You see that Nigel McGuinness has stolen your joke?
Well, what did you... No?
Because he was like, what a heel.
Oh, great minds.
No. Nigel watches. And he's like, I reckon I can get away with stealing this.
I can have all the jokes he wants. But no, I thought Serena was a babyface here. I think it would have been a much clearer match if Deeb was an out-and-out heel.
I felt that she was in this.
An out-and-out heel.
I thought she was the heel of the match, yeah. And I thought that Storm was the one who was working as the babyface throughout it. But it wasn't like she was working over her for 90% of the match, and then Storm made a comeback. It was back and forth throughout.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed this, and I thought that the big spot of the match, I suppose the story spot of the match, is that Mariah May, when Storm was in the single leg Boston Crab, went to go throw in the towel, and Luther stopped her from throwing in the towel. Storm then rolled to the outside, saw Luther with the towel, and thought that he was the one that was going to throw it in. So that's a nice little bit of story progression as we carry on this little trio.
Yeah, Toni then threw the towel into the crowd, hit Storm Zero off the second rope, and then another Storm Zero. Really good finish. Really
I didn't need the second bar driver. You just did it off the second rope, but, to each their own.
Wait.
Make sure double tap them.
Why not? I think she'd already kicked out of a Storm Zero.
Yeah, no, but this was an avalanche one. But maybe it's a double tap. She's watched Zombieland.
Orange Cassidy then took on Trent in another match I would have happily just had on Dynamite or Collision.
Okay, I'll take the voice of Reddit. Orange Cassidy, not on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'll take a different stance on this one. One of your highest rated TV draws, you wouldn't put them on pay-per-view when you're trying to sell a pay-per-view to people.
Well, I would put him in a different match then.
As opposed to the one that's the big blood feud that he's currently in.
Look, this isn't a pay-per-view. If I'm gonna have a 7-match pay-per-view card, and I've got everyone else in other stories, this isn't a good enough story or for a title to get on that card.
I disagree.
In which case, then Cassidy should be in a better story to get on that card.
I disagree. Like the criticism that AEW's had is they don't have stories, they don't have compelling stories. They've done a compelling story, and now your argument is don't put that on pay-per-view. It's not compelling enough.
Well, there is an order of things though. If I'm going to put 7 matches on pay-per-view, this doesn't make the cut.
I think this does make the cut.
Okay, what is your card then?
I don't think I would have had the trios match on for starters. I would, because I think there are some things you want to put on the Collision beforehand, particularly when you're trying to put up the ratings.
But Anarchy in the Arena definitely Swerve Christian definitely. So the final 4 matches are all definite locks.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have had Moxley Takeshita on there, particularly because that is a match where politics.
Tony Storm Deeb has to be on there.
Yeah. And
Ospreay Strong needs to be
and you could make the argument for the Jericho match with the exact same argument you can with Orange Cassidy, which is that he is your highest rated demo segment. So if you're trying to get people to buy a pay-per-view, you probably want to put him on pay-per-view then, because that might make people buy the pay-per-view.
I wonder if they did my version, how much the buy rate would be affected, because I think the people paying for the pay-per-views at this point aren't swayed by the Jericho stuff. Jericho's a great draw to have on TV because people are flicking, oh, I know Jericho, but you don't necessarily need him to convert those people to paying customers.
I suppose the thing we haven't had is we haven't had the show where he's not on. So you can't really, there's no data to sort of back it up. And even then, there's probably loads of factors that skew against it. But like this is, AEW do 10 matches on a card. So at this point, it's, I think it's pissing into the sea at this point, or as my friend used to say, dropping Ribena in the sea and expecting it to taste fruity, to be like, oh, there's we need to sort this out. I don't think they're ever going to change this model, but maybe now that they're doing more pay-per-views, this made sense when there were 4 shows a year. Now you're doing 6, 7, 8. I think you can start to do those 7-match cards.
So Orange Cassidy and Trent have already had a match, remember? And it was this wild brawl around the stands and everything. This was meant to be a straight wrestling match. I quite like the story of that because I thought, well, I know Orange Cassidy is this great technical wrestler. Trent is this heel who's like, well, I can beat you. I'm also a great technical wrestler. So when they just had a hockey fight and they brawled around the ring, I was like, oh, I know Cassidy won with a wrestling move, but that wasn't the story I thought I was getting, nor was it the story I think was appropriate.
I think it's these two just can't have that because it's so emotionally charged that they can't just do the straight. Also, I mean, the big story here, Orange Cassidy wore a black T-shirt.
Oh.
They were making a big deal about this on commentary because he had his current theme playing, and then that stopped, and then he came out to the Pixies, Where Is My Mind, which I thought was a wonderful little throwback. And then they were like, this is the first time that Orange Cassidy has worn a black T-shirt to the ring.
God damn.
He's going dark-sided.
Well, so there's not much to talk about here. Trent lost. Cassidy got a technical pin on. Cassidy's selling was really, really good
really
here.
Good.
And Trent stormed out afterwards. Renee tried to talk to him. Rocky Romero tried to talk to him, but he left through the stands.
Yeah, he said he's done. And like I thought Trent's selling of this loss really was like I cannot believe I lost again. And it was this moment I was like, I'm done. I honestly, I thought he was the problem. I thought Chuck was the problem. I think it is me. I can't fix me, so I'm done.
So later on, Don Callis then says on Wednesday, he's going to present a Callis family contract.
Yeah.
But he didn't say for who.
I'll have to find out.
So I feel like this is going to be a turn on Cassidy somehow.
Yeah, I think so. Because I don't see Cassidy aligning with Callis as a long-term thing. That is a partnership for me that has been fun in terms of like that's a fun what if.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a long-term thing.
Jericho defended his for the World Championship against Shibata and Hook. This was all kinds of hardcore fun. Yeah. I would say it doesn't need to be on the pay-per-view. This is a great TV main event.
Agreed.
That they've sort of wasted here. And it had chairs, it had tables, it had kendo sticks, it had a bag full of dice to land on.
I'm all for the Jericho gimmick when he's doing these these are like 1998 1999 hardcore matches that are usually opened up WWF Attitude Era pay-per-views. That's just do some plunder, hit some people with things. I'm all for the gimmick that Chris Jericho has a bag full of something that is unique to the local area. So you do it in Canada, it's hockey pucks. You do it in Vegas, it is dice. If you do it in Wisconsin, it's beer. Like it's something like that. Yeah. Like it's whatever is unique to that area, or like whatever their mascot is for their football team or whatever.
It's really good. Shibata hit a second rope Death Valley driver on Hook onto Jericho on a table that didn't break.
Eesh.
Shibata. He's so good in these hardcore matches. There was a point in this match where I thought, screw the story. I want Shibata to win. Just put the belt on Shibata.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. Big Bill tried to come in and help Jericho, but Hook put Big Bill through a table outside off the apron, a suplex.
This table is the wildest table break I think I've ever seen. Because he goes through this table, but the leg of the table just stayed standing up. So the table sort of collapsed around it while that was still up, nearly impaled Big Bill. Yeah. It's insane.
So Jericho needed a new appreciator to come down and help him, wearing a hoodie and a lucha mask. Usually it's Jericho who's in the lucha mask, so that was a nice touch when he's in disguise.
I'm glad you pointed that out because I just read a member of Retribution has interfered.
It was Brian Keith.
So, is Brian Keith part of the learning tree? Because commentary just kept saying he was Jericho's gun for hire.
Oh, because he's the assassin?
He's a bounty hunter.
The bounty hunter, yes.
So it wasn't... they weren't saying he's not a new member of the group. They were just saying, he hired him. He's a hired assassin for Chris Jericho in this match. Now, granted, you could just have him part of the group, and that's just a throwaway line of commentary. But it is a case of they never said he's now part of this act. Like they didn't. The three of them didn't celebrate together. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I guess I'm so used to other people joining Jericho. I just assumed he was now part of the faction.
I don't think this is a group until Sammy Guevara joins. When Sammy comes back and he joins this group, then it's officially a faction.
Jake Hager's at home.
Where's
my call,
Come on. My contract's up soon. Where's my phone call?
I've got the hat. You like the hat? So I guess this feud continues. Jericho retained. Shibata and Hook are unresolved.
Samoa Joe gets pulled into a vortex.
Oh, God. Moxley then took on Takeshita. Now, I was quite down on this match because I really want this match, but I wanted it. I just assumed it was going to have stakes, and it didn't really have any stakes. So it was a title eliminator, not an IWGP Heavyweight Championship match. But both men are so good. Moxley came out. He got collision. He got his shoulder taken out. Yeah. So Takeshita just worked over the shoulder, and it was awesome. And Takeshita's great, and Moxley's selling was fantastic. And yeah, it really sucked me in.
So yeah, I'm kind of in two minds on this one because I, like you, was kind of it's annoying that this is a title eliminator match because that doesn't feel pay-per-view. That doesn't feel like you need to buy the pay-per-view to see a potential number one contendership match for hey, buy the pay-per-view and then buy the pay-per-view again next month to see the match again. It's not exactly a huge drawing thing. But the fact that it wasn't for the IWGP Championship did make me like, actually, now I don't know who's going to win. If this was just for the belt, I'm like, well, Moxley retains. But if it's a title eliminator, I'm like, actually, maybe Takeshita does win here. So I think that's why it worked for me in terms of the near falls towards the end.
In hindsight, though, Moxley was never going to lose.
No.
New Japan don't want their top champion losing like this. But the way in which the loss came about was really, really well done, because Takeshita just can't put Moxley away. So Don's like, hey, get the chairs. And Takeshita comes out and he starts chucking chairs into the ring. It was a bit annoying because the referee could clearly see this happening. Don should have at least been on the other side to distract the referee. And when Takeshita gets in the ring, Moxley just perfect stomp on Takeshita. He goes straight down into this chair. It looked disgusting in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Then Moxley hits a Death Rider to win. So Don Callis potentially cost Takeshita the shot at the title.
That's correct. Yeah. Takeshita listened to Don's advice and it backfired him, whereas Will ignored the advice and it paid dividends for him. So I think there's some fun character stuff there. I wrote a wacky finish, and that was mostly because of they were just blatantly cheating in front of the referee. Yeah. Again, maybe that's part of it. Like it's bad planning on Don Callis' part. Maybe that's part of it. I don't think it is. For me, the story of this I thought was so great was Moxley's selling.
Yeah.
I thought Moxley's selling of his shoulder was fantastic throughout this.
Got a little bit of blood. A little tiny bit of his back somehow.
You got to save that for the next match, haven't you?
So Adam Copeland then took on Malachi Black in a barbed wire steel cage match. What did you think a barbed wire steel cage was?
Well, barbed wire steel cage is traditionally barbed wire across the top of the steel cage. Yeah.
Just for some reason in my head, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yes, I remember now. But for me, like those wall gardens, and the wall is covered in plants.
Yeah.
I thought it would be that, but with barbed wire.
Like a barbed wire rope match.
Yeah.
No, it's just it's at the top of the cage, because when we were doing our predictions and you were talking about escape the cage rules, and I was like, well, they don't do escape the cage in WWE. And then my thought was like, how are they going to do a big barbed wire spot at the top then? Because you can't climb over the top to escape. Why would you ever go up to the top? So yeah.
Well, it was a fantastic match. I think there's a couple of matches that are in contention for match of the night, and this is one of them.
I tell you what I felt this match was. This felt like Adam Copeland said to Tony Khan, look, I really think I could do that WrestleMania 39 Hell in a Cell match better. give me a do-over on that. Including the entrance. He came out to Slayer and Brood Edge. And I'm like, this is literally just his Mania 39 match with Finn Balor. Only this time he gets to bleed and he's not unhappy about it.
Yeah, so they bleed a lot and early. There's weapons in there, but they're using those. They're getting the barbed wire, spears through table. The biggest spot was Copeland puts Malachi Black on a table. He wraps Malachi Black around the table with the barbed wire. You're like, okay, well that's enough. And then Copeland climbs to the top of the cage and hits let's not say diving elbow.
No,
a big step down.
Buzz Lightyear says falling with style. There's not a lot of style. This was just falling. He fell, he landed, then he hit the elbow. Yeah. I had horrific flashbacks to Macho Man Randy Savage jumping off the cage. I can't remember which show it is now, but it's the one with Hogan, and shattered his leg because he just jumped off a steel cage into the ring and just like, ow, my leg's now gone. And yeah, this was like he landed feet first, then the elbow drop. And then on commentary, they were like, well, the reason why he didn't do a splash is because he'd wrapped him in barbed wire. If he'd have hit him with a splash, he'd have cut himself open as well. Yeah. This one was a bit more pinpoint accuracy. It did not have the style and grace that I think he'd have liked it to have had.
There's some speculation that Edge injured himself here.
No.
So hopefully he's okay. But he looked pretty hurt once the adrenaline wore off.
Chat, help me. Is it Halloween Havoc? Kind of been Halloween Havoc. Maybe it was Havoc 97. I think it's Havoc 97 when Macho does the cage spot. I think it was that one.
So they continue
Here's
on.
Halloween 97, thank you.
There's fighting back and forth. Malachi Black kicks Copeland through the cage, and then just like Copeland teased on Collision, the House of Brood. Was it a House of Brood or House of Blood? Can't remember.
I mean, I would have assumed Brood.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Feels like WWE didn't trademark anything when Adam Copeland left.
Nah, he's not that important. Or as The Rock, we must trademark everything he says.
Trademark Rudy Poo, TM.
Buddy and Brody King come out, and they look like they're going to side with Copeland. And the crowd, I was like, oh my God.
Absolutely.
It was a swerve. They attack Copeland. They get him in the ring. They're wrapping the barbed wire of thorns, the crown of thorns around his head.
They put Jesus was in the crowd.
Yeah.
And so it looked like, Jesus.
Malachi Black seemed to get thrown by that.
I think he was annoyed. That would not have happened if I was in WWE.
Because they wouldn't let some guy dressed as Jesus into the crowd. And they're just about to do the final black mass on Copeland when the lights all go blah, 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 blah. And this, you're gonna have to help me here, this guy comes out of the ring. Speaking of
WrestleMania 39 do-overs that he wanted,
Gangrel comes out of the ring, and there's Proustian memories when you're just shocked by this, usually a taste, and it takes you back to a specific moment in time. Just seeing Gangrel, because you couldn't really see his face, he's got the long blonde hair over it. The white shirt and the blonde hair, and it just transported me back to the 90s.
It took me back to playing SmackDown on the PlayStation 1 and seeing that. And actually then seeing in the credits, Gangrel's a trademark of White Wolf Inc. And you're like, White? What's this all about? But yeah, it was... I've written my notes here. I laughed. Like, when he came out of the ring, I was like, this is so wonderfully silly. I've been a bit down on this Malachi Black Adam Copeland feud because I feel it's a bit... I mean, I'd made the joke. This feels like it's been Judgment Day, but over again. But I could not stop laughing when Gangrel came out of the ring. I thought it was so wonderfully silly and fun.
And that led to the finish. Copeland got the win. And Copeland and Gangrel walked out, and they seemed really happy.
Yeah.
Gangrel looked really, really proud. I was unprepared for how much I would like this, because I was never a Brood guy. I thought it was a silly gimmick, even as a kid.
It wasn't all that long-lasting either.
Yeah.
He ditches some for Hardy Boys soon after.
Then we got the Callis announcement for Dynamite that he's going to present a contract, and then we got my match of the night.
My match of the night?
Yeah. Ooh. Are you going to go Anarchy?
Oh, I don't know. I'll talk about them and I'll have a think, but this is up there as a contender because this match was awesome.
Yeah, match of the night, caveat, not angle. Match. This was just, it felt really big time. As soon as it started, there was a bit of me that thought, maybe this could have been the main event. It felt like a really big time boxing fight. Mercedes got the huge entrance with even a babyface video package, right?
Yeah, I think it's all intentional as part of the character. And it's leading to this really interesting mixed response from the crowd. Because there are people that just love Mercedes Moné and they were cheering for it and are into the CEO thing. But there is this portion of you're not Willow Nightingale, so we're going to boo you. And it led to this fans, so interesting, mixed response for her, but an overwhelming positive response for Willow Nightingale.
The crowd were amazing for all of this, and Willow and Monet rose to the occasion, and God, they needed this, because I've just really been impatient with this story, rightfully so.
I was going to say, you've been very down.
Oh, well, I just think Monet it's just been really subpar stuff since she came in. And what did we say? She needs to wrestle. And as soon as the bell rang, as soon as she made her entrance, to be honest, it was like, this is Sasha Banks.
So the report is that she got cleared at the start of May. So that is the only when she was officially cleared. Because there was a report that she was cleared back in December, and then apparently New Japan officials told Fightful Select, if we'd have known that, we'd have booked her for Wrestle Kingdom. But so I don't think she was actually officially cleared. So all that, and that's what we kept saying on the Dynamite reviews, is if she can't wrestle, then you need to really make it known. That's why we're not doing the first match until Double or Nothing, as opposed to just being I'm going to have my first match, I've decided, at Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
I think that did hurt the story somewhat. What I really, really loved about this match is Willow obviously goes for the ankle because she knows that is a weak spot. Monet also targets Willow's ankle, but that's out of vindictiveness of like, let's see how you like it. I'm going to try and break your ankle.
It's weird for the a babyface like Willow to go for the injured part that she injured, that she says she feels bad about as well, though. Yeah, I never booed Willow. I was always 100% behind Willow. I loved the way Willow worked.
Yeah, this match was great.
There was a bit when she had the more spectacular bits, but the bit that got me was it was an ankle lock.
Yeah, and the kicks in the midsection.
And she just started kicking her as well. And I thought that is such a great attention to detail. Why doesn't everybody else who's ever put on an ankle lock Kurt Angle? Why don't you kick him in the gut as well?
Yeah, Ken.
Can you wrestle?
Ken, you came from the UFC. Yeah. You do this whole thing all the time.
Mercedes is occasionally going back and forth with Chris Statlander, trying to coax her into something. And Statlander tries to interfere. Referee gets distracted. Nightingale hits the Doctor Bomb. We get a visible pin. I think it was like a 5 count.
Yeah.
And that set up Mercedes winning with a move I hope she changes.
Yeah, I think it's time to abandon this move. Yeah. Like, I think, she's had 5-6 matches since her big comeback last year, injury notwithstanding. I think she's hit that move cleanly. Maybe half the times. I think,
and even then, it's not like wow.
Yeah, that was worth changing all of your presentation for when you had quite an over submission move already. I think with the benefit of hindsight, knowing the angle that comes afterwards, Stat and Stokely distracting the referee was purely intentional on their part.
Oh yes, yeah. So Mercedes wins. She gets what I felt wasn't enough of a title celebration. This is what I'm talking here about. We need moments to breathe, save some angles for later on. Because Mercedes gets a title, she walks around a bit, she does the,
You love that little dance.
That bit. I've always loved that movement. I just don't know how she does it. And then before you know it, she's on the ramp, she's walking up there. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I feel like you, Mercedes, the character, would have confetti. This would be a much bigger deal. Because they've got to get to the angle. Stokely, Chris, and Willow are arguing. Chris Statlander shoves down Stokely. Stokely's great facials in this. And then as Chris and Willow are leaving, Chris throws Nightingale to the floor, also hits a discus clothesline, and Stokely sides with Statlander.
To your point, it's not even just that they had to cut the celebration short to get to the angle. They also had to get to the next match. Because there's so much on this. And again, that's why, I've been saying this point throughout the show, but there is this happy middle ground that I don't think either company can quite hit at the moment. And if you're in that happy middle ground, you can give time to angles like this that would have had the big celebration and stuff.
Well, I think WrestleMania maybe hit that balance quite well.
But then again, that was almost the same length.
It was longer.
Yeah.
It was like 4 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 4 hours, I think. And this was 4.5.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 4.5. So hopefully Willow and Monet do something, because I'm concerned now that Nightingale's dropped the title. She's on Rampage feuding with Statlander.
I think it certainly is goes to a Statlander feud as opposed to goes back to a Monet feud. I think you save that match and do that further down the line as opposed to I don't think you put it straight back into a Monet program. I think you need to do the Stat, and I think it's good to have. I'm a big advocate for doing storylines that don't involve titles.
Yeah,
maybe that's why I wanted the Orange Cassidy match on this pay-per-view.
I agree. Well, I want fewer titles. I agree, but just based on AEW experience, that's not a feud that's going to get much Dynamite or Collision time.
Because look at what happened with Deonna and Thunder Rosa. Speaking of belts, did you see the Tony Khan?
Oh my God, it's a gendered tag belt. Who's asking for that?
Well, I don't know, the reporter, I guess. And he was like, oh, actually, more belts.
Then we got Swerve Strickland versus Christian. Great, cool Prince Nana entrance.
Doing the Warriors
thing. Come out to play with the bottles as well.
Always pop for Warriors references. And he added Warriors like cosplay inspired gear as well. Yeah. So I thought this was, honestly, that might be my match of the night.
Really?
I loved this match. I really, really loved this match. I don't know if it is, though, because there's so much other great stuff on this show, but I had a brilliant time with this because I thought this was and this is what I was talking about with the Undisputed Kingdom interference in the opening match. I think this was so much done. It was done better so much in this match.
This was my 5th best match of the night, and that isn't like doing it down. It was a night of great matches, but that's not good for the world champion, I would say.
I really, really got into this. And I think when you have matches like this is when I have those moments of like, oh, yeah, I think Christian is a main event guy because he's so good at laying out matches and he does interference or does like faction interference better than most people do. And I really, really dug this match. And it's not just all the interference stuff they had with the patriarchy and like patriarchy interfering, then Nana sort of stopping the interference, but him the one that gets ejected. So then the patriarchy interferes some more. Then they all get ejected, but then Nick Wayne comes out and hits an RKO from out of nowhere and all this sort of stuff. And then Nana chases him off. But when it was just the two in the ring doing the wrestling, it was also brilliant. I thought Swerve was so good in this match, and Christian sold his stuff and made him look awesome.
Yeah, it was very good. You enjoyed it a lot more than me, but I don't want to say that I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I just wasn't. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
And I didn't have high expectations, I'm afraid. Whereas everything else that I really enjoyed on the show exceeded my expectations.
I think it's apropos that you have been saying going into this that you felt this feels a bit mid-card, and then when it's all said and done you found it sort of mid-pack in terms of like or mid-puck, I don't know what his name is, of your sort of match ratings and stuff. But I thought I actually got some really good near falls in this as well. I thought, because I never thought that Christian was going to win. There was something like the Unpretty near fall and stuff. I was like, that was genuinely bought that off the Nick Wayne third interference spot.
But Swerve retained in the end. He hit a Swerve stomp and a house call. Feels like the house call is becoming the finisher now rather than was the JML driver before?
JML driver, yeah. I loved the house call reversal of the spear.
Yes.
I thought that was really, really good.
Hopefully a more main event feud next time.
Yeah.
No offense to Christian, but we all know what I mean. But the real main event, like the sort of epilogue to the show, Anarchy in the Arena. We don't have time to go through all of the many, many spots.
Welcome to the S show is how Justin Roberts introduced us here. Like, it was a real, like, guys, this is it. Welcome to the S show. And it was fun from the out.
Yeah, it was never stopped.
And never stopped. And I was laughing. I was clapping. I was giggling like a little schoolgirl. I had a tremendous time with this match.
So right from the get-go, it's sort of a hallmark of the Anarchy in the Arena matches that someone's entrance music will just play on loop. But no one has like that super killer entrance music right now.
What's
like,
so well
match.
with Mox's music?
Yeah, they do have good entrance music. I sort of mean like, working for this match.
Yeah.
So you got Darby's music. He's the last out. I thought, okay, well, yeah, I'm actually getting into this. This is a good song. And then Matt Jackson gets the mic. No, this is terrible, this song. Play our music. I thought, oh, no, this is bad. This is actually bad in the best possible intentional way.
Yeah.
And then Bryan Danielson grabbed the mic. And I realized it half a second before he said it. Because at first you're like, well, Bryan Danielson's going to play his music, Ride of the Valkyries. Okay, that's Apocalypse Now chaos. But instead, he cues up the final countdown by Europa.
Europa or just Europe?
Europe.
It wasn't written by the Europa League.
Great.
Who I think are an offshoot of the Human League. Yeah, it plays the final countdown, and I just had this huge grin on my face because they're brawling too, and because it's an anthem song, so the crowd are singing it as well. And Darby does a coffin drop off like a bit of the stage, or so the tunnels and stuff. Just as they drop, boom! It's the fine, and he does. It was perfectly timed. This was awesome.
You had Taz as well going.
What, I'm having fun here, man. Yeah, I'm having fun.
But the best bit was when it was cut off again by Matt Jackson. He grabs a microphone. No, stop it.
It's too
I have to
expensive.
pay $200,000 every time we play this. This show's on a budget, for God's sake. That's a shoot.
Oh, it's well expensive.
Apparently, that actually cost $200,000.
Yeah.
That spot might be one of the most expensive individual spots ever in wrestling.
Well, Tony Khan said when he did it for the first time he did it, Was it Wrestle Dream when they first played the song? Or was it
it was
different one?
No. It was Forbidden Door, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, no, it was.
Last year.
And they did it for Wrestle Dream when he had the Zack match, you're right. But when Tony Khan did the press conference, he was like, yeah, I think getting the rights to Final Countdown was more expensive than the pay-per-view itself. Because it is. That's why it's not his entrance theme, because it's so expensive to license.
So just craziness everywhere. Darby and Jack Perry brawl into the parking lot area. Darby drowns Jack Perry in a cold, ice bath plunge, which, as you figured out from the get-go.
Not from the get-go. I just when they put him in that, and then when he was sopping wet, I was like, oh, actually, that ice bath thing was a really good disguise for the flame retardant stuff.
Yeah, whatever that sort of gel is that you put over your skin to stop it getting burned. There was a weird spot, though. The only thing that didn't work for me.
The truck. The truck.
Yeah. So Darby is in this pile of rubbish, and then all of a sudden Jack Perry's in this delivery van that says Scapegoat.
The Scapegoat Mobile.
The Scape-mobile. And he drives it into the mound. I'm like, well, did it hit Darby? Did it hit Darby?
They were saying that it did because he was in the pile. The problem was we didn't see him in the pile.
Yeah.
We just saw them brawl around the pile prior to that. And then we just sort of cut, and it's just this truck drives into it. And I was like, I think Jack's dead.
Because then the camera goes round, and Jack Perry's now passed out in the car. So but who was this move on?
Yeah, this is the one spot that did not work for me. Particularly as well, I then saw after the show that they had a video package. I think this might have been on the buy-in. It was like an Elite Hype-Up video package where the Elite arrived in one of those Tesla self-driving cars. Because, they're obnoxious pricks. So, of course, they're going to drive a car from an obnoxious prick. And I was like, that should have been the car. You should have done that as the spot.
Could have controlled it from afar.
Someone hacked into it and is, controlling it via like Mario Kart or something.
But that was the only bad thing, honestly. Everything else was so much fun. Tony Khan driver onto Danielson on those big chips by the stage. Swanton bomb from Nick Jackson off the top of the entrance tunnel through a table.
Yeah.
Okada gets this Mr. Socko glove, which has thumbtacks on for the Rainmaker.
Darby Allin, because he had to have the protective face mask on because of his broken nose, had thumbtacks on his protective face mask and stuff.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
So there was some... My favourite part of this section of the match, though, was when Okada decided, I think I'm just going to do wrestling.
Yeah, with Danielson.
Everyone else is doing big crazy spots. He's like, drop kick. Yeah. I'm going to do a bit of wrestling on you now.
So the big spot was Jack Perry recovers. He's coming back into the stage area. And he's wet, like Luke said. He's so wet. And he gets Tony Khan from the gorilla position. He takes him out. Or is it the Brody position? I can't...
Oh, yeah, I think they did, yeah.
And he takes him out onto the stage. But Darby's there. And Darby flamethrowers Jack Perry's legs.
Right at the feet.
For about a second.
You got enough of the visual for it to work. Yeah.
I'm just describing it. I thought it was great. And the Bucks immediately with fire extinguishers. It was such... for such a dangerous spot, I really appreciated that I wasn't worried about anyone.
Yeah. I'd imagine not, but I'll ask anyway. Have you read Kane Hodder's autobiography?
No.
That has... because he's horribly burned from a fire stunt going wrong. And he talks about that in quite some graphic detail in his autobiography. And ever since then, it terrifies me. And even when I watch movies from the 80s when they did just have dudes in the big suits and you just set them on fire and stuff, it's scary because it's fire. It's not something. It's not like you can't. It's not working fire.
It's unpredictable.
It's shoot fire. And so I think that they did this as safely as you possibly could, while also making it look as spectacular as you possibly could. A man got set on fire in a wrestling match.
It's what they teased, they delivered.
Yeah, great.
After that, it sort of goes to the ring, and they start to suspend Darby from a cable. And I was a bit I was more worried about this than I was the flamethrower, weirdly.
Yeah, same.
I've seen some people say, oh, is that a bit insensitive? Because Martha Hart was also at the start of the show. And I just thought, no, it wasn't up high enough.
That's a very different...
Yeah.
That's a very different drop. If you were doing the Sting entrance, then I would understand that. But it's a very different gimmick.
There was a bit when I was like, how high are they going to take him? Because if they did take him high,
Yeah.
which is well within reason for Darby, that would have been bad.
But if
badly judged.
it would have been, but if you take him up any high, you can't super kick him in the face.
Oh, yes.
And that was the whole point of this.
Yeah.
It was to super kick him in the face.
So just sort of upside down, hanging 6 feet above the ring, and the Bucks get their thumbtack shoes, their new Reeboks,
Yep.
and they super kick Darby in the face. So Darby's knocked out. Everyone else does moves. The crowd start chanting, "Please help Darby."
Yep.
So Danielson goes to help Darby, but Perry hits a running knee on him. Jack Perry gets the pin.
I loved this.
So much fun.
So much fun. And as you mentioned earlier, there was an exploding chair in all of this.
I forgot again. I didn't even mean that as a bit.
I particularly enjoyed Okada passing them the shoes and being like, "Try these." The other thing that really distracted me in this match, and I'm only now piecing it together because Okada was also in this match, but Dax had a weight belt on because he was wearing trousers that was the same as Ishii's. Like the top of his trunks. I kept thinking Ishii was in this match because you just see him from the back and it's his ball. I was like, "Oh, it's Ishii." Nope, it's Dax Harwood.
Yeah.
I don't see him in trousers a lot.
You don't see sort of ethnicity either.
Or completely different body types.
But yeah, a fantastic match. I get that it's not for everyone's taste,
Yeah.
but I had so much fun here, and it really left me on a high.
Me too.
I gave the pay-per-view overall 87%.
I think that's a fair. Yeah, I think I'd probably say it's like a 5 out of 5 show, or certainly a high 4 out of 5 show. Because I think 5 out of 5 be like awesome, perfect, but there is, you can't. 10 matches is a lot, and like I think for me, it's not the length of the show. I've got no issue with the length of the show. For me, it's having too much within that length, which means you can't have things breathe either side of it. I understand why AEW do it, but I don't think that it is a good enough argument to consistently do it.
Yeah. Hopefully now they've got more pay-per-views, they do start to change. Well, let's get into our remaining Omega chats for the show. We have...
There's a note here just to remind me that I was thinking of Halloween Havoc 97, and the only reason I thought it was that one, I was trying to remember it, is because I knew I'd reviewed it for Patreon within the last year. I was like, I know I've talked about this within the last year. So I was racking my brain of what WCW shows that I've done, and then I was like, yeah, it was Havoc.
William Buhner, Memberg for 36 months in a row. Keep up the great content. We are in a great era for professional wrestling. # support each other. Yes, we are. Westhead says, just to clarify, Luke, the Kane casket match fire spot is terrible. You're right. I mean, when he set the camera guy head to toe ablaze pre-WrestleMania 14. If Jack was engulfed, it would have hit me much harder overall. Plus, I am all in on a triple hate MJF moniker now. Heart emoji, WrestleTalk.
I think it's hard to sort of say, like, I'm sorry that he didn't get set on fire enough for you in a wrestling match.
The Guilty Hat says, Anarchy in the Arena saved me at 5 a.m. this morning from falling asleep. Exactly what I needed after a super long weekend of wrestling. But what's next for Jack Perry? Swerve or MJF maybe? Push our scapegoat to the main event where he belongs.
Well, I think that is the trajectory for him, but I don't think this is done with Team AEW for now because the Elite did win. And we got blood and guts, after Forbidden Door. Traditionally after Forbidden Door, at the very least.
I think Perry should go for a mid-card belt first.
You reckon?
Yeah, get that under his belt, so to speak.
I think you need to capitalize on
I don't think he's credible enough.
Wins like this, you pin Danielson after being set on fire.
Yeah, but you've got so many other people waiting for a world title shot.
Just kind of makes that even better, right? Because the Elite just push him into that position.
Quoth the Raven, 79. I freely admit I'm not a fan of Mone, even when she was Sasha. Her finish doesn't seem believable, especially on someone like Willow. But what's done is done. Does she go back for the TBS title or the AEW Women's title after dealing with Chris? That's about Nightingale.
I would say once she is finished with Statlander, you go back to the Mone thing, or maybe further down the line, because it was her title.
Maybe Mone goes into the women's side of the Owen Hart Cup.
Yeah, that'd be quite nice.
That's how she gets her rematch.
Yeah.
James Zimmerman. Howdy, folks. Okay, favourite match of the night was Willow versus the CEO. I was in Brooklyn in 2015, and since then, Mercedes has been one of my favourite wrestlers. I have a feeling we're about to get a great run of matches. Thanks. And pay-per-view not long enough.
Not long enough.
My God, James Zimmerman.
That's this term gets used a lot online. It's like, this is for the sickos. You know, like when Danielson versus Satnam Singh. It's a match. It's a match for the sickos right there. Wanting these pay-per-views longer. That's the sickos.
TIE Fighter says, long-time listener, first-time chatter. Just wanted to mention, if no one else has, that pretty sure MJF's AEW tat is on the same leg he got his Create a Pro tat. And I think that's just kind of neat. Thanks for all the hard work, boys.
That's really interesting.
That'd be a previous promotion he wrestled for.
That's cool.
Chicago Kenny says, love the pay-per-view, love WrestleTalk. Give Will Ospreay all the belts. Also, any word on Ricky Starks? Hope we see him soon back in AEW.
Yeah, because I didn't know what the status was of his injury.
Well, he said he's fine.
But he said he's fine. He said that they just got nothing for me currently.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like him. There's all the reports of Megan Bain as well, that there have been creative pictures for her, but she has got interest outside.
Well, Conan says that there's Khan hates Ricky Starks.
Hold on. I feel we're going to get some truth bombs here now. What's Conan got to say about this?
He's not actually said anything. I was making up a lie. Because Starks was at WrestleMania. Yeah. Tony Khan's angry with him.
I really thought, because if you just say like, oh, well, Conan said, I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready for some nonsense. I'm ready. I hope they put us on a thumbnail again.
And finally for now, Tony Con Artist, really disappointed in Mercedes' AEW run so far. Wish she would have went back to WWE alongside Naomi. Naomi for Money in the Bank, by the way.
I mean, it's worked out well for Naomi so far, hasn't it? Going back.
And Ben Housen has gifted a membership to SE Suave. Thank you very much. Well, let's have a look at our poll.
I'm undecided on what my match that I was. I think it is the Mercedes match. I think overall it was the Mercedes match. Thumbs up, 83% in the middle, 13.
Oh, highly rated.
Very highly rated. So that's all we've got time for on this edition of the WrestleTalk podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please do press the subscribe button if you've made it this far and you haven't already. Give us a little thumbs up as well. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of this show. Big thank you to our moderating team. Big thank you to all of you watching live as well. We're back tomorrow with the WWE Raw review with all the fallout from King and Queen of the Ring. Then we'll be here on Thursday with the Dynamite review with all of the fallout from Double or Nothing. And then this Friday, it is our epic 10-hour Money in the Bank marathon where we're going to be randomizing Money in the Bank matches and watching them for 10 hours straight to celebrate hitting 85,000 subscribers. So a huge thank you to you for helping us hit that goal as we're now on our way to 100k. I might get a plaque. I want to get one of my plaques. I'm going to have it on the set. A plaque for the podcast.
Let's get a plaque.
Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Luco and DAD. That has been Ollie Davis. Jam that jam.